Yo, 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 what is going on, IK Familia? This is your boy, BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today we are going to be diving a little bit into the Drama Llama stages of, oh god, what seems to be a lot of intense stuff that's going on in S79, and don't get me wrong, this is not going to be one of those I told you so moments, but I can't promise that it will not be. So, before we dive in, make sure, as always, if you enjoyed the content, sub, like, ring the notification bell, and if you want to join our conversation, hit up the Discord, which you can find in the description and pin comment down below. I got some good sleep last night, so it's gonna be good stuff. Okay, the first thing I want to touch on here is kind of giving you the prefacing. So there's been some stuff that's been going on in 79. For some of you that may know, or if you don't, right, S79 was my third jump project in Infinity Kingdom, with S8 being the first, 36 being the second, and for all intents and purposes, S79 essentially was my next best baby, if you will, right? It really had the most potential out of all three of the projects, right? I'd say S8 being second, and then 36 being third, just because of the way that that played out with the kind of unfortunate internal... God, what's the word I'm looking for here? Not abandonment is probably one, right? The betrayal, so to speak, of the two alliances that left the family when we were actually doing well enough to push for that, for good, advantageous contention of the kingdom. But now we get to 79, and like I said, things are going so well. And then pretty much kind of out of nowhere, and I'm just going to give you a TLDR here before we kind of dive into some of the world chat stuff. I'll show you the KVK map, and I'll really kind of hammer home where I'm going with all of this, is that in the beginning, right, the system that we always have had in place, that we always told people ahead of time, we were always fully transparent. Players knew this, right? If you were part of management, officer, leader, even if you were someone who just joined, because we sent Kingdom mails out about this, right? I made it a point to do this. And for those of you who may or may not know, right, I basically wrote all the Kingdom mails for 79, right? Pretty much 99.99% of them. And again, even though we always, even though I even came out a couple times and asked, right, if others wanted to, I just kind of proactively took it upon myself to write these things up so we can make sure that we're getting quality information, really what the Kingdom and the player base needs to know. And so, anyways, with that being said, we kind of get to what the hierarchy system was and always has been, which is, myself in leadership, and always being upfront and telling people, like, look, I'm here to be oversight. I'm here to make sure that we are keeping our promises, staying on track, and making sure that we are held accountable and responsible for the people that are joining the project and are still here in the kingdom, that hope that we're still going to be doing a great job for them. And so I always reserve the right to make the final decision or a call on something if and when needed, right, at my discretion, even though, to my recollection, and I know some other people have commented on this as well, saying that this is the case, I just can't fully remember, but I will say that I do not recall even one instance where I came out and said, hey, we're doing it this way. I don't care to hear your opinion. I don't care to hear your discussion. We're not going to get any feedback, right? We're just going to do it this way because I said so. That has never happened. I just want to make that very, very clear. Every layer that we have started off at has always been from the council level, as it usually, if not almost all the time, is in any of the projects that I run, right? Regardless of what the system or the hierarchy structure may be, we always start things off there. Or maybe we started off an officer and it kind of works its way up, or we keep it an officer, but we typically start it somewhere that has multiple people included, right? Whether that's council and or officer, even though most of the time is council. And so that's where we'll have our discussions, our feedback. Now, the great thing about the systems that I usually employ or implore is that, employ, I think that's the right word, is that we already kind of have things laid out ahead of time. And for example, how we're going to manage events, how we're going to distribute territory, how we're going to communicate and disseminate information, right? How we're going to do meetings, how we're going to manage the kingdom, what the PvP rules are going to be, etc. A lot of these things are already predetermined, right? They're already set up in the project, so that way when people join and they read on it, if they stay, the assumption is that, hey, okay, they like what this project is about, and especially this is hammered home a lot more with management, right, which is your officers and leads, more so than it is with the members, even though all the information is public and available. So we've always been very upfront and again, very transparent about everything. And so we get to this point in S79 where, we now had this kind of proposal, so to speak, if you will, even though, as I so eloquently pointed out, it really wasn't proposed as that. And so, this is something that we later found out basically was kind of done behind closed doors. I'll actually show you a brief moment of this too as well. So this is something for our accounts, right? This happened back in January 3rd, right? We are now almost 2.5 months after that when the suggestion was initially came. Now, even though one person posted this, this was, from what we later found out, up to about 37 people, right, including all the current R6s and a bunch of the R5s that were all kind of in this backdoor room, this backdoor Discord server, having all these discussions, basically behind my back and whomever else that wasn't privy to the information, and then came up and said, hey, these are things that we want to see changed, right? Because remember, when you come with kind of a loaded anything, you're not really coming to the table with a discussion or a conversation start. You're coming with loaded votes already in your pocket. So it's misleading because you're not really earnestly and honestly coming to the table to start out and have a conversation. It's almost like you're having the conversation, but you already know you have the votes in your pocket, so it doesn't really matter where the conversation goes. And so anyways, that's kind of the summary. And I think, again, you can also see this because for those that may not have known, you could see like the majority of the people immediately voted for the check mark here, which obviously we can't go back in time and I can show you how it happened, but it's kind of give or take how you can see. So now anyways, let me scroll back and finally push over here to World Chat and what's going on here and what has been happening. And it will also kind of show off the KVK map. So let me, if anything, first and foremost, show off the KVK map, and then we'll kind of go through some of the World Chat posts. And I'm just going to comment on a few of them. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to give you my conclusion and really explain why these things are happening. Because I haven't read through everything yet, but about half I have. So I'll give you my conclusion and my summary on basically how this was inevitable to happen and it was kind of destined to be. And I'll actually hammer this home probably in another video that I make about another kingdom, if not two. So, okay. Let's first show off, if I can. I have to switch this here. Okay. So this is the 79 KV. I think it's the KVK 10 block. Let me confirm here. I think it is. Oh, it's 11. So here you can see, right, 95, 72, 91, 97, 78, 98, 79, and 88, right? And so these are all the positions. Now you see the map. Now Zone 3, for the Zone 3 gates, are going to be opening in a little more than 3 days. And from what we can see here, that 79 has 3 cities currently, right? 2, I think, left in the province. I have to remember. No. Sorry. 1 left in the province, which is here by DRS. They got 1 Zone 2, which Farah has, and then a second one here from Farah that's in Zone 2. That's in another side of the Zone 2, right? So 3 cities left. And if you look at the faction power here, you can see 97 running away with it, of course. You got 95 and then 78, and then you got 79, and pretty much you got 3 kingdoms here that have nothing. 72, who knows how long they'll hold on to their last one. And then I kind of foresee, based on the trend, 79 is probably going to lose the remaining cities here maybe in the next couple days, depending on how aggressive the other kingdoms will be. Now, I'm not sure exactly what is happening here, because I remember that 78 was doing something with 79. There was supposed to be some kind of either NAP or union. I think it was something that I saw posted publicly in a chat. And I think someone had DM'd me saying, like, yeah, this is kind of like how it is. And I said, okay, cool. Now, when we look at the map, right, you could see 79 is losing ground. So I'm not sure what happened there diplomatically. I think when you look at 95 and 97, I think there was already some pre-forming of kind of allyship that was there. And someone's more than welcome to correct me, of course, if any of this is wrong or just not 100% accurate. I'm just going off of, again, what I've seen, what I've heard, but not actually like getting any kind of official screenshots from either side, though I haven't actually gone out and asked either. But please feel free to let me know in the comments down below. So this is kind of how the landscape is currently. Now, let's go back to kind of the cream of it all here, which is going to be the World Chat. So I'm going to kind of read going top down, and I'll just comment on a few things here, and then kind of once we get to where they're at now, once it stops, then I'll kind of give my thoughts here on the end as well. So Let me see. Lake here starts off saying, if having towers was the measurement of right or wrong, Farah wouldn't be getting blasted in world chat. Now this is interesting because I think from this standpoint, when we look at, let me see here, I have to look at what the leaderboards are one moment so I can make sure that I'm like familiar with what's going on. So Farah, I think, pull up to refresh. It's not letting me refresh past top 10. Super interesting. Okay. Well, I think depending on who's leading Farah right now, I just don't want to exit out because if I do, I'm going to lose the thing. But you know what we can do? Let's do this. We will just return to the home kingdom. That's going to let me see. I just want to make sure that I'm quoting like who's leads and who's not currently. So let's do this. I'm going to, even though I have my other screen pulled up right now, let me... Okay, cool. So we're going to do this. We'll leave battlefield. We'll go over here just so I can use this as a reference point. Okay, so we're back. Now let's look at Farah. Okay, so heretics still lead there. Okay, cool. So we'll just leave this up just in case if we need to come back to it. All right, so now getting back here. So we have, if having towers is the measurement of right or wrong. Now, I can't see the previous message from Killmonger, but we can kind of infer that if having towers was the measurement of right or wrong, Farah wouldn't be getting blasted in world chat, right? And this kind of, based on what Leg is saying here in response, Killmonger may have said something like, you know, we have the most amount of towers, or we're doing really well because we have a lot of towers, or there's the opportunity to do well because we have a lot of towers. And, you know, and maybe there was something said there about, oh, well, it's right to have a lot of towers. And maybe it's wrong to have not a lot of towers, you know, whatever it may have been. This is something that I know from my experience in 79, and specifically speaking with Heretic, you know, he just values having, you know, a lot of towers, or I should say really focusing on the kind of Frostborn mechanics of believing that, you know, everything is kind of about vision. You need to have a lot of towers, and it's not bad, in my opinion, to have a lot of towers. I think no matter what, the more towers you have, that obviously comes not only with the passives that you get along with those, but it also comes at, like, for example, just being able to not gather in the lower gathering rate that you would if you're not having vision on an area, or if it's not unfrosted, if you will, or green. And then you also get the vision that comes with it. And typically when you have more vision than your enemies, you're able to kind of see them before they can see you. Of course, if you're there to notice it at that time, right? It more or less gives you the first opportunity to do an attack or set up an attack, right, for favorable trades. And obviously it requires for you to be online and to be looking around and kind of scoping and hunting. You know, even if you're someone who does not have vision, you can still send all your marches out. You can relocate your, you know, your donkey caravan, if you will, right? There's ways you can go about getting vision in still a very efficient way, even if you do not have any flags in a specific area. So just interesting to see this kind of being, and again, I don't know what Monger said there, but I hope it wasn't anything about like, oh yeah, you know, it's right to do this, we're to do that. And then we see we have Killmonger and your leadership building all those towers won this KVK. So again, not sure where, you know, where this was here. Again, I don't know if maybe they're saying like, yeah, we're winning or we're not. But just interesting to see some of the reactions. Let me see. Monk says, portals. Arctown says, we will lose every single land we have before gates open for middle, and y'all want to teach us all how to fight. Again, I don't know where the comment was for that on teaching how to fight, but yeah, that seems a little unfortunate. Let me see. I hate to say it, but I think this one's a lost arc. Let's do a friendly war after KVK and see who is weak and who is a coward and who knows how to fight. Then we can talk about teaching us how to fight. Yo, it's getting spicy. It's getting spicy, bro. Yeah, it's it's interesting, right? So let's look real quick and see, you know, were there any, because, you know, my assumption here is that if you're going into KVK, you know, it's really important to make sure that you are sending those king's mails, right, those server mails out ahead of time so you can brief your kingdom, brief your player base, because it's the only way that you can message every single player in the kingdom, right, regardless of how many people read it. It is your only resource with the potential to do so, or I should say the ability to do so. So if here, we'll switch real quick. Let's see here when the last mail was sent, right, because this is something that you would assume that maybe they've had at least one opportunity to get king in that time. So let's see, 25, 26. Oh man, I can only go back 45 days. Wow. So there hasn't been a mail. Oh, I think that's because that's when I made this account. So there hasn't been any mails sent in the past 45 days. And if we go back, oh, you know what? Let's do this. Let's see, how long has Frost been up for? So, well, there's 9 days left. I think it was 45 days on the cycle. So minus 1035, it's a plus 10-day window before KVK started, at least going back on that account, right, where we didn't get a mail. I think maybe 2 CORs have been done, maybe 2 or 3, because on a 2-week rotation. So you're looking at 28. Yeah, so maybe at least 3 have been done. I would imagine there was probably at least an opportunity to cap one time, even with the increases for the power now, right? And arguably, now that people have powered up, you could argue there might even be an easier time to do it now. When is the next one? So next round is going to be in 5 days. Let's see where the last round ended here. So, okay, only 150,000. So, again, didn't even hit 200K. I imagine probably didn't even get World Heart either. So, again, they'll have to try it for, again, 318? So, in about a week. Well, I guess 6 days, technically. Okay, let's go back now. Interesting stuff. But it just kind of shows you just another side of it, that it's very important to understand the value of sending mails out, right? And at least when I was there, you know, we always prioritize this as one of the utmost important things, right? You never wanted to let COR go to waste, because if you did, you would basically drastically limit your abilities on doing multiple things, whether that's sending, arguably the most important thing, right, which is your King's mails, adjusting migration cap if you need to try and let higher powered players in, because you can't do that obviously without having King. So if people want to try and get into the kingdom, right, you don't have the opportunity to do that, albeit during KVK, right? You're not able to utilize the free gifts that you get to send out, right, that have green gems in them for the amount. You're not able to give out titles. You can't hit any of your kingdom orders, right? These are just to name some. Okay, let's see. Let me see. Right, we will see a sea of bubbles from them. I just want to know, if you guys can't get along, how do you expect to work together in one mega alliance? Just curious. Ooh, interesting. So there's some mega alliance talk that's been coming out. Wild, because I just, man, what's crazy to me is, I mean, I've preached how harmful and damaging doing mega alliances can be for a kingdom. And these are things that, again, unless you really understand what it means to do a mega alliance and what comes with that, then my strong recommendation is just don't do it. Right? It causes there's more problems, more cons than pros that it causes. Yeah, it's watered down apple juice in case anyone's curious. It's concentrate anyways. Okay, calm down. All right, here we go. I didn't order extra salt with my burger. Hey, old guy, hit it, baby. I don't know what. Alex says, I don't know what could be done to turn 79 into a winning server at this stage. Rough. So basically, like, kind of feels like it's not a winning server, right? It's the opposite, whether it's a losing server or maybe just a declining. But I'd say got to this point by appealing to both farmers and KVK enthusiasts. Half of the server wants to win but hasn't been able to flex their PvP muscles, and the other half would rather farm and help the first half win. Bad combo. Got to this point by appealing to both farmers and KVK enthusiasts. So, again, I can't speak for what happened after I left. We can infer based on, you know, some public and visual data. But at least while I was there, you know, the focus and what's interesting is that, and this is something you're going to hear brought up later, right, is that the interesting part is, you know, we always did, I felt, a very great job of informing players, of educating them, of explaining, right, how to do PvP and the steps that you would need to do, right, how to look for favorable matchups. So there's always been plenty of information there. But at the end of the day, players have to choose if they want to engage or not, right? Taking the choice away from people and forcing them into a situation where they now have to PvP, again, you cannot bank on that to be an absolute 100% guarantee that those players are going to convert into what you're hoping they will, because you force them in a position, right? In order for players, for the most part, when you're just thinking about basic psychology, you have to feel comfortable and confident mentally in knowing what to do, the processes in doing it, and what those steps are, right? Kind of all pretty much wrapped up in the same bubble, before you then choose to start pressing buttons or do actions that will engage you in that. And so that's the most important part, because if you force people into situations, especially in this genre, right? And again, I don't know, I wouldn't necessarily expect Leg or anyone else to really know that if you haven't played in multiple kingdoms, if you haven't seen multiple kingdoms play out having server-wide PvP, and then looking at where those kingdoms are now. There is a trend in this, right? I can tell you because I love doing research. This is something I'll go out of my way to go and do, and I'll make a whole video about it just so I can show and prove to people, like, this is how it is, right? Not in a negative way, but more of an informative way. And this is something that will happen in every server. Every server, essentially, if you do server-wide PvP, you are just destined to go down a poorer road, if you will. Now, that also does not mean that server-wide PvP kingdoms cannot have or be successful in their own right, because they can. I've actually seen this done. It's just usually the level of activity there is typically never going to be as high as kingdoms that do not do server-wide PvP, right? So there's kind of a big give and a big take when you decide to do that. So Jalal says, at the very least, this convo goes a longer way than what councils managed to do, in my opinion. Oh, rough. Interesting. Again, the thing, it's funny here because when you look at what happened, right, and you look at the people that essentially, voted me out, right? You had, I think there was like 5 or 6 people at the time, and the important thing here is that, and I'm gonna make the best point ever, is that if you decide that you are voting someone out because you think you can do a better job, or you think that you need to take away their power because they're not doing the best job that they could be, you are stating that you think things can be done better, right? Which then means that by you taking over those responsibilities, it now means that the accountability and all of the responsibility is on you, right? Which in this case would be, those council members that ended up going there, which I think at the time, if I can remember correctly, I think was Pip. I'm trying to remember the names here. It was Pip, Rianko, Manef, Wolf, Embla, and yeah, so that's like what? That's 5? Yeah, 5. And then I thought there was a 6th one there, but maybe it was just the 5. I'm not sure if I'm missing anyone else there, at least on the initial vote, right? So the way I look at it is that if these people have great intentions, which I would only hope they do, right? Even though I feel that the way that the vote and everything went down was completely misguided, unfortunately, but they now have that burden on them, and obviously whoever else the current leads are. So if you vote in that direction, but you do not stay with the kingdom long enough to see things get to a stabilization point, things are going great, right? Where you have now proved to everyone that you've been able to carry the kingdom, then okay, right? I'm happy to tip my hat to you. But if at any point you step down from leadership, and I want to point this out because this is such a bigger point. If you've ever been in a kingdom where people were vying for power, or they booted you out of power, or there was a mutiny, or anything kind of happened, and those people that then immediately promoted themselves, right, interjected themselves into those kingdom decision, those leadership positions, if they leave at any time before the kingdom has stabilized and has started flourishing again, all they've done is lie to themselves, and they've lied to you, the player base. It is their accountability now, their responsibility to do that. Now, if you look at how the kingdom was going while I was there, it was going great. There were leaders and officers on the record, on a voice call, saying that they didn't disagree that things were not going well. Quite the opposite. They felt things were going very well still. If you looked at where we are, where the position was, right, we were ranked number 8 out of the top 25 kingdoms in the game. We had fantastic power balance that we were still continuing to work on, right? We had, 7 or 8 active alliances at the kingdom at the time. Just to name some stats, right? This was kind of as we were getting to that 150-day mark. Things were going fantastically well. But then you look at, where the kingdom is now. We'll show a little bit of that too. But it really comes down to the leads. You have to stay and keep playing, right? You can't just take the power, right? Take the fictional illusion power, right? That you so wanted, and then just leave, right? There's a big difference between being kicked out or voted out of something compared to just flat out leaving. And so that's the important thing to take away, which I'm very happy to say that for every single project I've ever ran and I've ever managed, during my time there, while I was respected and valued to be there, right, we've always been ascending. It's always been kind of a golden age. So I'm happy for that, at least, in my track records. Okay, let's move on. So let me see. Top alliances would be safer, one for each color. That's all we need. Oh, interesting. Wow. Now we're getting into like the top 3 talk, right? So we went to having 8 active alliances to maybe it's 5 or something now. And now there's some talks of it going to 3. Interesting. Okay. Talking about things is a good start. I've asked you all need to have a major meeting with the council, to be honest. It sneaked me in there. I'm sorry. Do they not have meetings anymore? Can someone in 79 tell me, like, do you guys have meetings? I mean, because remember, when I was there, we did weekly meetings with everyone. And then we also did weekly management meetings, right? So we typically would do 2 meetings a week. And I'm curious, do those still happen there or do they not? I'm curious. Because if they don't, then I would say that's a major letdown from the current council. Because really, if anything, you're just backtracking at that point, right? Doing weekly meetings is fantastic. When you don't do those, right, that sets a visual statement that you just don't care, right? Obviously, if that's happening, I don't know, but I'd love to find out if that is, or just get anyone's opinion on that, or feedback, right, if you've seen it happen or not. Jalal says, bad leaders don't want public discussions because they don't want their ideas challenged. I'm going to be honest, man. I love being challenged. Like, we could Shark Tank this biscotchi all day long. But I also think it's important, right? You have to be open to have those discussions, right? And you have to recognize that when you're a leader, whether you're a leader of an alliance or even in my position, a leader of a project, you will be challenged, right? And it doesn't mean that you have to view that as a negative way. You should view it as an opportunity to have a conversation and to really provide your, I don't know if you want to say evidence, but your points of view and how you back those up. Right? Because again, if you don't believe enough in what you're doing, or if you're not able to explain what you're doing and to really show how it is a great way of doing things, or maybe just a better way of doing things than what's currently being done, right? Or even just something worth trying, but it has to be more worth trying than something else, right? Then who else is going to agree? Who else is going to believe in what you hopefully believe in? So that's, I think, number 1 and done. Let me see. Mayor says, but even that needs some kind of diplomacy to work together. Oh, God, is there no diplomacy and no working together? Mayor, let me know, girl. What's been happening? You've been one of my faves. Nightingale, kick alts out of main alliance. Each main alliance. Oh, it's my little dog. Oh, my little doggy's sleeping. Okay, sorry. I think I just accidentally kicked him. Let me see. Let me see. Each main alliance. And each color has a lower alliance to support. Oh, God, we're going with, like, the main alliance academy viewpoint here. I hate the idea of academies. I'll explain that probably in a later video. Killmonger, Boss Baby knows Shika. Does he know you, Arc? Lol. So it will be top 6 alliances active. Are there even 6 alliances active? Not salty, bro. Someone call me a coward a week. I get angry. Just venting it's better than keeping it in. Yeah, I think better out than in. I meant the general state of world chat. Take it out on Kano and not your allies, not you in particular. And if we contradict, we will not solve anything. To do something great, we have to work together and listen to everyone's opinions. Yes, listening and acting, 2 completely different things. You're 200K now. I permit you to be in the world. It's messed up. Funny, but it's messed up. Let me see. If we listen to everyone's opinion, then have to make everyone happy, nothing will ever work, and the server will be stuck on a loop. Yeah, I mean, basically, you just don't want to be a Jim Carrey yes man, right, where you say yes to everything. There has to be some level of oversight. If we listen to, let me see, as someone who isn't heavily involved in the server's politics, it's nice to know you guys are having discussions about the state of the server. Change can only happen if it's addressed. Agreed. Agreed. It doesn't necessarily mean every change, right? Everything has to be changed, but true. I mean, you have to be able to speak up on things and have open discussions. Come, Margaret, take it out on Kano. Are you kidding me? They are one Mega Alliance. We hit 1-5. We'll follow. We don't have the buffs or RSS or troops to fight them. This is what I'm saying. We need a change. We can't fight guys like that face to face with what we got. And I'm not used to moving around, hiding in effing corners and hit and run. BS y'all are taught to do hit and run. BS y'all are taught to do in Farah. In old school, we learned to fight face to face. All right, some choice words. Choice words. What I would say, I want to comment on something here proportionally, is the thing about KVK that I think it's good for players to understand is that, right, whales and spending is a thing no matter what, right? There's always going to be a thing, a chance where you might have to fight uphill battles. A lot of what having forms and levels of success in KVK can come down to is sometimes, and again, I'm not trying to give any guidance here at all, so I'll be careful on what I say, right, unless you want to pay me for it. But what I will say is, understanding that, when there's players that are just a lot stronger than you, you have to fight. You may have to fight differently, right? You might have to approach the way and the style that you fight, and also the expectations that you set with your player base on those realizations. Now, this is something that, in my opinion, Kingdoms really should do ahead of time before you get into KVK, and really before you start even getting all the big fighting, right? You could even do this in your KVK Zone 1. Now, I don't know if they did that here in 79, but that's something I would have done, right? Because you can kind of tell based on the strength of some of the other servers, right? Who's kind of has the strongest individuals, and you can still do work, right? Don't get it wrong. You can still do work. You just have to have someone that is not too far away in troop power compared to who is ever stronger than them, and you just jab away at them, right? And basically when they're inactive or not online, and you can put some work in. It just has to be coordinated with basically your strongest players, right? To basically do the most amount of to create the most amount of hospital bills and most deaths that you can. Even if the number might be small at first, it'll build and build and build as you keep attacking. But then you kind of have to weigh out, right, is it better to do that, or is it better just to go and hit all the people that you can win? So, right, that you can win against. Anyways, moving on. I was referring in this way, we can reach a common opinion. Jalil says, no, but if the people making bad decisions are left on their own to make bad decisions, then nothing will ever change because they will bathe in their bad opinions and be like, yes, we're so good. So this is a very interesting take that Jalal has. And I think where Jalal's really going, just another way to say the same thing, is it's kind of like you have a group of friends, right? And your group of friends all shares a similar opinion. And because they all share a similar opinion, they're like internally and self-validating each other. And because they self-validate each other, it then can at times make them think that, okay, well, this is the right way to do it, without taking into consideration other ways, other ways of doing things, or even others' opinions, right, and feedback, and kind of, it can almost stifle creativity in a sense, and kind of thinking outside the box, right, or being willing to take in something else. And so that's it's like kind of like a circle turkey jerky. I'm going to say that because I think that would be appropriate for the video, right? It's basically what it is. And that's something, not to say that's what they're doing, because I don't know. But that is something to be careful with because it's a very slippery slope. Jill says this is why public discussion is important. Like says, who's in the council these days? I mean, I don't know if they even sent a mail out on like who the new council is, like a King's mail or something. Can someone tell me, did they send a server mail out? Like after I was voted out, did they say like, hey, this is who the new management team is in 79? Right? Was that something that happened? Let me know. Because I think the question is fair. Ligman says, if you get into the council, I'm quitting. Dear God, that's so direct. Let's see here. Well, I'm 34. Man, this is a wild video. For me, it's easy to choose. If nothing will change, I will jump. Like me, I think about as a lot of players. Yeah. Legman says, lol, if I got on the council, they'd take me out like BN. Hey! Appreciate Leg. Shouting out the fam, man. Yo, your toes are looking luscious, bro. Luscious. Mikasa says, you should be. At least you update us. Interesting. Now, what I will say is I don't know what kind of updates they send or not, but just given the fact that there hasn't been at least one out of the last three CORs where they've taken King to update someone, remember, it is also a choice on you choosing to do COR while KVK is going on or not. Right, and that also means that you're choosing to limit the options on you being able to inform players. Let me see. Here we go. Enigma says, oh my god, was that always the solution? Or was opportunity? This is how many active players are thinking this server will be left with alt and farms. Good luck to the council ruling that. Legman says, I can't imagine the outrage of me getting a seat there. Civil War is already too close. Jeez. I know what you meant, but there would be a common opinion if there wouldn't be this discussion right now. Oh, Captain, my Captain. This is the way. The council should make a public meeting for all of us. This is interesting. So this is like the second or third time, I think, so far just from reading this chat, that we've heard someone mention like there hasn't been any public meetings. Right now, obviously, like I said, I don't know if that's the case, but it is interesting that it's something that it wasn't just a one-off, right? There's some consistency here. So again, I'm curious, right? What's going on with the meeting things? Is it like not happening at all, or what? I think that's really important. Mikasa, the king is dead. BN, thanks. Long live the king. Leg. All right. Yeah. Well, at least there's a level of respect and appreciation. Where people, if this is where Mikasa's coming from or not, right? But some people at least recognize that, hey, this was someone, right, who was kind of viewed as a king. Not like a god or anything, jeez. So, like says, if I ever become king here, expect a daily poetry corner in your mail. I'll go rogue as Leg tells me what to do. There we go. Maybe in Leg's mind, we're all rogues. I mean, that's not, I guess you could make that argument. Let me see here. Poet and a king, 2-for-1 deal. You make no sense. On one hand, you say Kano is too strong to fight head-on. Then you demean us, saying players who don't fight head-on are lilies. Then you finish with you fight real because you fight head-on. You're special, my friend. Obviously, I can't speak to if Kano said that or not. But what I will say is that, you can fight them head on. You just have to do it in a strategic and tactical way, right? Where you basically minimize losses you take in your inactive window and you maximize on wins or dead incurred, or given, probably is a better way, a word to use, right? During your period of activity. So you technically can, you just have to, again, it takes a lot of coordination, it takes a lot of work because you have to explain that to a lot of people. And how to do that. You were always welcome here, Monk. If we win you over, we win the heart of the server. Love it. They're so wild right now. Let's see. They're just annoying, but they're not bad, except the guys who hit towels. That's rude. Anyone and any annoying, I want to smack you. Let me see. I make no sense because y'all fed BS to Farah. Nope, he is saying we need to consolidate power to fight head-on with someone like Kano. We are limiting our growth by about dead castles rather than pushing growth and combining power. So first off, what I'll say here for Pancake's comment is this is kind of flawed thinking, because assuming that you're limiting power by spreading out activity is technically wrong. It's a wrong way of thinking, right? You do not want to consolidate power, right? Again, remember, it also depends on the direction that the kingdom's going. But if I'm just focusing on maximizing power growth, the reason why you wouldn't consolidate power is because when you consolidate power, you are always going to leave some active players behind. And you're never going to have enough spots available in alliances with the most activity. An example of this would be, let's say you have 6 alliances and you have 100 players each, right? Or sorry, let's say you have 80 active players each across 6 alliances, right? What that means is that you have 6 alliances that are active, right? Which means they have high alliance levels, right? Remember, you also have to consider how many players are able to benefit from Alliance level 10 and then more advanced tech, right, that you're developing, because that plays a big part into how each player can develop individually. That adds on to their own individual growth within Academy, VIP level, etc. Then you also get to where now, let's say you consolidate those to 3. So that's 80, what would that be? Sorry, 80 times 6. What is that, 480? I don't know if that's, is that a good example? 480, yeah. So you have, so then you basically would be able to fill 3 alliances, but you'd have some players left over. Well, where do those players go? Right, those players would go into a 4th alliance, but that 4th alliance now has less activity than they originally had, right? Probably by 1/3 or 2/3 less, or I guess 1/3 overall activity. And so now those players are not able to grow as fast as others are. Then you also have to consider the amount of active players that do play, but they probably won't be willing to merge or go over to another alliance, right? So they're going to stay behind in that alliance. And if they notice that activity drops a lot, where they're not getting a lot of helps, etc., right? Maybe there's not a lot of social engagement. Maybe that's something they look forward to. Who knows? That's something that can cause those players to stop playing, quit, or migrate. So even though, yes, by consolidating power, you are able to boost up and kind of get to your top, right, to try and get to 150 player activity. And sure, that's great for those 150 players. But when it comes to the overall kingdom's progression, you're actually stifling it by condensing. And this is one of the reasons why doing things like recruitment is so important, so you can fill out other alliances as well. Now, what I will say is, if you have completely given up on recruitment, if your kingdom, and this goes for anyone, if your kingdom just will never recruit players ever again, and you are only going to be stuck with who you currently have, then okay, you can sell me on condensing, right? You can sell me on, okay, we can condense now because we're only going to be losing activity or on this kind of slow, steady decline of activity and player retention. And so condensing is at that point the only other thing that probably makes sense, right? Then you can sell me. Okay. Let me see. Flock is great, but to be fair, any rogue will seem bad to those he is hitting. Yeah, it's pretty case. Nightingale, be kind to each other, everyone. Just because we are hiding behind our screen means we should not ignore manners. This is true. This is true. Something I feel a lot of people forget. Please don't know how to talk respectfully in these games. Sometimes I lose my temper too, so once in a while it's excusable. Let's see you get off. When I'm given respect, one of your officers called all of us at FSS cowards and weak. How do you expect me to respect that? First off, I think this is something that ARC brings up. I think it's really important to recognize that, one person speaking, it does not represent the entire embodiment. Now, yes, if it is an officer and even more so the lead, you could probably take that with, not to say you should infer, but that doesn't really look good, right? If you have an officer that is doing that, because who knows if he's speaking for other officers or not, even though we should assume they're not. Usually when you have a management position, you have to take that into consideration. If it was a member, then yes, right? I think this is something I probably would lean a little bit more on understanding where ARC is coming from here. Yeah, definitely you should retaliate and call the entire other alliance. God, these guys. Your lack of growth is bewildering. You gotta speed up, leg man. I'm slowing down. Had a few shots. Okay, let's see. I should also apologize too. Then I just get defensive about far. We're like the odd duckling. All good, bro. Chills. Like Coke bottle fizz up and die down. Translation's closed for the day. Tome for bed. Okay, here we go. Can I suggest everyone join the server Discord and start having a real discussion without losing your temper? That would help. We as the council try our best to do what we think is best for the server. We had several open meetings which no one joined, so I suggest trying again and come to an agreement. I mean, first off, saying that no one joined, I don't know if I would say that publicly, just because I understand the honesty of it, but sometimes that can make it seem like, hey, we hold all these meetings but no one joins, right? Not to say that it comes off as complaining or anything, but just more so that it comes off as, it's almost like you're setting the tone, right? For no one joins the meetings, we have a bunch, no one joins. Why are people going to join then if you're saying that, right? I feel like that it's just a factor. I just probably wouldn't have worded it like that. Let me say good night. Doesn't even look like no one responded. Leg says, Leg's the only one. May I join? No one said anything else. That was funny. I was in there previously, but someone banned me. Here to try to invite someone. I have to do something about this. Even if you are rogue, you have rights to be there. Thanks. I'd like to be there, but I understand people's hesitancy. When Flock joined LS, it's amazing. Let me see. I gotta get to some of the other stuff here. Where am I at right now? 45 minutes. Oh, dude, this is great. Legman is respectful. Should be allowed to be back in the server. Tell that to all the people being farmed daily are the ones who quit or leave because of rogues, but he's respectful. That's good enough. Well, outside of hitting castles, thank you. I doubt. No doubt, but definition of a rogue is that they are going against the server rights, so it makes sense to not include them in decisions or give them access to following server rules. See, I'm okay with people condemning my actions on here. I don't expect otherwise, but regardless of our disagreements on how the server should operate in subsequent skirmishes, conversational respect should still preserve. I do agree. Then if we let them back on the server, create a specific role for him, only let them see voice channel. Yeah, you could. That's actually something you could do. It's pretty much what I did at a certain point in time. So I get the point of view, and I'm sure Leg is a great guy. Hack has been more respectful to me than I've been to him, but Rogue is Rogue. Rogue damn's rough. Rough life. That Rogue life. If you want to work together, it needs to be resolved with Leg, and it's always going to happen, have some appeal. Well, to be fair, it only needs to be resolved now because they let it get to this point. That's the only reason that it needs to be resolved. Or it gives the impression that it needs to be resolved now. I don't expect to be proven anything. Give me some tactical advantage. Yeah, makes sense. Like, man, you're annoying, but you're a part of the server. It's always got to start with a slap in the face. You know what I mean? Always got to start there. Let me see. I guess LS. They better get removed from Alliance Discord, server Discord. Mercer's law. Thanks, I appreciate that. BN had the same idea, and whilst we never reached an agreement, we were able to respect each other and work together to reduce some of the vitriol. Yep. 100%, man. 100%. Many servers have people unhappy with the rules, but the strong servers don't have any significant rogues or any at all. There is a reason for that. They are burned to the ground by everyone, no exception. So, what I will say, Pancake, is that's technically not right. Again, this is why it's important that if we're going to speak to things that are beyond our kingdom, then we know exactly what's happening in those kingdoms. I can tell you at the moment that there are some things happening in some of the top 3 kingdoms in the game right now that would actually say otherwise. I'm not going to go into any details, just wanted to make a note of that. So, right. And I will say that it's been happening since before this post, which I think this was today, if not within 24 hours as of yesterday. The reality is we're already there. Oh, sorry, what did Pancake say? Burn to the ground, we coddle rogues, and soon we will have T7 rogues. Mars says the reality is we're already there, lol, so unless you have a time machine, it's not going to resolve anything. If you're working for the benefit of the future of the server, then isolating and removing the rogues is no longer a viable option. Don't replace one tire, gotta replace them all. Gotta catch them all. No? Thought it was an appropriate time for that. All this is safe analogy, so either work with them or let them continue to destroy the server and the morale of the ones who remain until we jump. Until we jump! Whoa, people are jumping! Oof, I drove a hovercraft, so it has no wheels. Good stuff. When I was the only rogue in town, I was still burned ostracized pretty hard, but I'm not easily deterred. Ostracizing isn't worth much now because we can't isolate rogues from the other rogues. We have all the company we need. Yeah, it's true. We do have a lot more rogues now. We're just more people in LS. 100% unfortunately, Leg hold a lot of power now, so our opinion options are limited, but none of them will be reached if we continue to shut them out. So we may as well fight in the game and be cordial in chat. Servers damned if you do, damned if you don't. I mean, that's to an extent true/not true, right? I mean, you just... The challenge right now, I think, is that, and this is just my inference based on what we're reading, is you either need everyone in the council to truly come together, absolutely get on the same page, and have a unified direction that they go, right, where it's kind of lockstep. And if they don't, right, then you need to be able to appoint someone that will at the end of the day. Right? I mean, as an example, I could tell you right now that without a doubt in my mind, right? If people wanted me to come back and there was a overwhelming majority, I may consider it. And let's just say that I did. I would effortlessly be able to get 79 back on track. Why? Because I just know what needs to happen. I know what needs to be done next. And this comes from not some gloating of myself or some inflation of my abilities. It comes from knowledge and it comes from experience in doing these things many times and playing in a lot of kingdoms and a lot of servers in different games and playing at every single level that you can consider playing a game or doing things at, right? From a member all the way to managing your own project and doing your own kingdom. That's where it comes from, right? Is seeing a lot. And that experience, it carries a lot as well. And oftentimes I feel like for some people, they just don't see a lot of value in it, unfortunately. Okay, let's see here. Let's keep going. Been nice to be on here. Will be handsomely rewarded when I get my toes on that throne. Nice, man. I expect a title. A good title, Lake. Thank you. Let me see here. It's like watching a soap opera. What will happen next? 100%, man. That's what it feels like after reading this, too. Can't believe I'm going, man. It's all 50 minutes. This is wild. Mutiny, I want my divorce, too. I already got mine. You're next. All right, let's see. There should be some more. I think I'm getting close now to almost being at the front. Go all in, don't battle me. One fell off and bumped his head. I'm 40. I zeroed him for today. Now he's looking. Okay. I think the next portion here is coming up, if I remember correctly. God, his Bugatti. Full health. Okay, and here we go. I've been playing as much lately. Yeah, I mean, that's what happens, man. I even started my very popular movement of free Vasilis. Let me see. No Frostborn activity. Activity there. Scared. I've had 2 TPs. I have had 2 TP away from me. Yeah, good thing we are losing so bad. We know more about how Frostborn works than anyone playing with us this season. I'm gonna be honest, man. When I hear comments like that, and I'll say this up front, you would never hear me say something like that, right? Without some resume, right? Some experience, consistently to back that up, or some kind of explanation. I mean, it's just it publicly when you say those things, right? It can come off rough. And then Paulie here with, this is a bold statement. I mean, and I want to point something out here, right? Remember, in the beginning of the video, we looked at how the KVK map is playing out, right? 79 is ranked, 4th right now, if we're just going off action power. So knowing more about how Frostborn works than anyone else playing this season can also, I mean, again, you could have some people that could make the argument and then come out and say, well, knowing all that about how Frostborn works isn't doing you guys any good, this KVK, right? That's an argument some people could make. Obviously, I think, it's what he's probably saying is a little deeper or more detailed than just that at face value. But again, when you say stuff like that, someone could easily come back with a comment like that. Let me see. Dana says, all this ish are making me start buying portals and thinking to leave. Good luck with the dead server soon. Rough stuff. That's normal when people lose and don't understand why they blame others for their defeat. Yep, that's true. It's why it's really important to set expectations early and throughout. Let me see. They're called relationships for a reason. It was a Titanic thing. Okay, oh wow, we're actually almost getting to the front here. So, do I look like someone that leaves RSS Link around? It's funny. That is funny. Eric, come scout me. I'm so close to unlocking T6. Eric's like, I'm done wailing free to play now. Yeah, getting a bit bored. Anyone want my account? Ooh, Eric, I'm so sorry, man. Always loved you, man. Always loved you. Could do some real damage with it with the 250k plus Shadow March. Sure. Send me 5k. Hey, it's a bargain. I'll have to run an LS fundraiser. Yeah. Nice, dude. So investing the money to play with entertainment levels is best. He says, I'm not done yet. Want to beat Boss Baby to 1v1. Then I won IK. Nice, man. That's so funny. Maybe I'll set a lower goal. It's funny. All right, cool. So we're caught up. So that pretty much brings us to where we're at. Man, this is almost an hour video, kind of going through chat. What I'm going to say now in closing, and again, I just didn't think making a super short video would have been the best way to really do this. I think it's kind of important to show like a near 24-hour period, at least last 24-hour period of how things are going. And what I will conclude with now is I think it's really important for players, and more specifically management, right, in any kingdom or server, to have a level of self-awareness, of accountability and responsibility, and hopefully just a good moral understanding of what your capabilities are. If you look at it, I'll show a few examples now. If you look at where the kingdom is currently, right, we at one point had 8 active alliances. 8 active. I think 6 or 7 of those were a lot closer in alliance power than the others, but the other ones were building up, right, in a way better spot up until the time that I left. And if you look now, you have arguably 4 active alliances, right? 4.5 if you want to consider DRS, just based on where the power is right now. So, you have 4 active alliances, right? If you want to extend to 5, okay, sure. But then even then, it just pushes the gap that much farther, right? Now, what are you looking at? What is this, 44, 64, 72? It's a 72 million gap between 1 and 5. Between 4 and 1, what is that, 32? Sorry, 34? Yeah, 34, almost 34 mil gap. So it's a wide gap you have between the power here. And interesting. I mean, no Discord, things that we taught early on. Okay, cool, awesome. At least they put something up, something new here. Nice to see that Maverick, or whoever did put that in there from FSM, gets it. Nice. Don't know if... Wow, Farah hasn't even updated theirs yet, because this is still ours. This is still my old link for my Discord. But thank you for sending players over. Appreciate that. Then we look at... Sorry, let me see here. Fate. No Discord. Oh, they have a Discord here. Okay, cool. So they did update it. DRS has... Oh, okay, they added some Discord names in here, but beyond that... Okay, cool, and they have a new Discord here. Okay, so some of them do, well, which is nice. Obviously, it would be nice to have the unification. Again, we had this pretty much set up at the time when I was there across the majority of the top active alliances. What I will say is I think what this comes down to when we're just looking at it visually, and this is sad based on what we're seeing right now, the trend is going downwards, right? This is not an upward trend that 79 is going in currently. And what I will say is based on what we're seeing now, right, from where the kingdom was prior to me leaving, and then where it is now after I've left, and it's been almost 2.5 months, that's more than enough time to get stuff back on track. You don't need that long. But, and again, the important part here is recognizing what you did before I left. And are you doing anything different now? Are you putting in more work? Are you doing the same amount of work? Have more people stopped? Remember, for those of you who watched the 79 over the breakdown video I did, right? They had like 37 people or however many they said that up to that amount were signing up to help out and do tasks and get things done. I mean, what's being done? Right? And... You know, again, sure, it's great to see those things talked about in King's Mail and World Chat, but you can see just from the past 24 hours, right, there's been quite a lot that's been said in World Chat, and, right, no server mails have been sent out. You know, again, you can even use your Alliance declarations to kind of give status updates, right, if you think of it like that. You can write out PvP rules. You can inform people. Right. The important thing to recognize here is that when you're playing games, you can't just live on one sphere or the other, which means you can't just live in-game or only on Discord, right? Having a healthy combination of both is vitally important. And there are some things that Discord is always going to be more appropriate for, just some other kind of social media platform or communication platform you can use. And then at other times, certain things in-game are always going to be more prioritized as far as kind of what you would do first before doing something else. But based on what we're seeing here, right? I can only look at the stats, and when I look at the stats and I look at the numbers, right? Albeit what we've heard, to me, it looks like the kingdom is turning into a far off version than what I had envisioned and what the group said they didn't want to change. So when I look at this, all I see to myself is, I mean, they lied. They haven't been able to do what they said they were going to keep intact and still do. There's been foundational changes that we've seen, and I think a lot of this kind of just culminates to just a lack of experience, right? You can know how to play a game, you can know how to lead an alliance, but leading a kingdom is entirely different than just being responsible for up to 150 people in your alliance, right? Where you have many tools to do so. When you have to start thinking about more alliances than just your own, more people that are not necessarily your alliance own, and you have to think about how you go about managing that group of people, communicating with them, informing, educating, notifying, it's a different mindset. And in order to really, really appreciate it and to get a good understanding, you have to do it. Like, you literally have to basically go and do your own jump project to really understand, to truly understand everything that goes into it, so you have a level of appreciation for the people, like myself and others, that do those things. Because I think I could sum up everything that I'm seeing right now in 79 to just a lack of respect and appreciation, a lack of understanding. And thinking that they could just do a better job. And I think from even just where we're at now and what we've seen publicly so far, again, just from the stats alone, right? Sure, you can add in the other stuff, but if I'm just talking about what I'm visually seeing from stats, to me, right, it's failing, right? It's at least on a downward spiral currently. And like I said, there's only those two ways that I mentioned before that they can really pick themselves back up from this. But it's funny because I've had a few people DM me too as well, saying that, like, you called it all along, boss. Like, you knew it was going to happen. I mean, what I will say is that there was an extremely high chance that it was inevitably going to happen this way. And like I said, if anything, the part that I feel, the people that I feel so bad for, and my heart goes out to those of you, is the players, because truly, I think you deserve better. I do. I think that you deserve to not have to consider, be forced, or choose to leave the server, become inactive, switch an alliance, stop playing your account, migrate out, stop playing the game. I mean, these are unfortunate side effects of what they have been seeing, right? And who knows how many are cramped in there, right? We can only kind of go off what we're seeing publicly or visually. But yeah, man, I mean, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate to think that, I spent my 12 to 16 hours a day building the shell for the project before I even started recruiting people. I went through all these hours of interviewing people, of reading through applications, of setting up the Discord, of writing out all the information, how we're going to do everything, planning meetings, doing all the recruitment for players that I did, spending hours a day doing that, and getting everything just to the starting point on day one, and then considering around that those same amount of hours I would put in every day after that, just to get to the point of where we were able to get S79 to in the top 10, right, as the number 8 strongest kingdom in the game. And I bet when I do my next top 25 round, they're probably going to be outside of the top 10, maybe outside of the top 15. And, again, these things are just kind of important to notice, right? If you're a player and you're not that engaged or you don't pay that much of attention, you just may not know. But if you do take time to start looking at these things and paying attention and look at what you're noticing, right, then you might start asking the right questions or kind of paying attention to the things that at least I think are good to pay attention to. With all of that being said, I don't know if I was really considering for this to be over an hour, but what I will say is I would love to know your thoughts, right? Again, I know I asked some questions throughout the video, but if you're in 79, let me know, how is it going for you right now, right? Is anything I'm saying kind of hitting the nail on the head, right? Or is there more context or more information that, again, we don't know, right? Because we just weren't able to see, because we were only able to comment on what we could. Again, I'd love to hear. And what I will also say is that if you're someone who's not in 79 and you're watching this video and you've had similar experiences to what we're seeing and what we're showcasing here happening in 79, not only for what happened to me, but what's just happening currently in the server, I would still love to know, right? What has your experience been in your server, especially if it lines up or is close to? Let me know all of that and everything in the comments down below. That's it for me. Until next time, I'll catch you later.